The pondering break this week allowed me to think over my own role in this movement, assess certain things, and analyse the situation we face and how we go about things. And yes, the thoughts of should I carry on doing what I do, with so much flack, abuse, resistance and downright ugly behaviours of some, despite me being a major help to many of those people. I came back and I wrote this lengthy piece on my ponderings and findings, and I hope you all get much out of it. There is much fear, division, uncertainty, elements of a lack of motivation, angst and comparative competitive narrative ongoing currently. And something that's going on globally, but something that's all down to one person. And for varying reasons, people have their own ideas and misconceptions about who, what I am, or why I'm in this role. And some think it is an easy role and pass easy judgments, not based on me as they think, but based on where they are at within themselves. People always go so far in support until you say one thing that triggers them, a truth about them they don't wish to hear, and it all changes from the narrative of deep admiration and support to that guy has changed, he's bad, he's filled with haterade, he's manipulated, he talks shit, is arrogant, has inflated ego, and the list goes on. And very quickly that love of what I do or say turns nasty and hate and derision kicks in. Rumours fly in private messages of here's this, that and the other, and it attracts the worst psychological aspects in us all. And it's all based upon fears within ourselves. Many names have come and gone since I started doing radio shows with a plethora of knowledge on a range of subjects, with an ability to connect dots on a level few others can achieve. Why? Because I've been involved at a level few others don't get access to is why. Add in a long and deep memory bank with an ability to overview information, and you have a walking, talking wrecking ball against people, groups, organisations, factions, agencies and anyone else not doing the right thing for and by the people. Those who have come and gone have by and large loved what I did or do, until it gets to a certain point. And off they go, leaving a stream of bile, hate, lies mixed with a multitude of words designed to make me look bad. But what happened to their memories of all the good I have done for them on an individual basis and sometimes a collective? Why is the focus on the bad or what we have lost, and never on the good aspects or what we have gained? That damning fact plagues us all to varying degrees, does it not? Why do we do that? And it all comes down to ourselves. We are running programs designed to get us to do that and ultimately keep us all divided. It is the stealth MK Ultra I have touched upon. And the key to changing that is within yourself. It's called self-mastery. This world is inhabited by low self-worth, insecure people. I know I was one of them. Until I developed enough to step over that personal barrier. But because I stepped over that personal barrier, that leaves people below the barrier who are then riddled with envy. Why? Low self-worth and insecurity, that someone is better than them. And this brings in another aspect we all partake in, comparative and competitive mindsets, that is so rampant within society, one would think it is part of our culture as a species. We compare almost everything, whether animate or inanimate objects, and it's bizarre in the extreme, and is in essence cult and or hive mind behaviour patterns. The feeling of belonging to a group that is successful, whether in sport, politics, mainstream or alt media, new age or light and dark magic, pervades society like a virus. But what passes as successful nowadays is flawed beyond all sensible reasoning. Take Biden, for example. People will run to him like they ran to Trump because he was successful. But success in our modern world is based on cheating, deception, and in many cases, who has harvested the most money, largely by cheating and deceiving. That is not success. That is the illusion game, based on dark practices that leaves those partaking in it lacking the one thing you can take with you into the next life: soul development. How do you achieve that? Many have asked. It's fairly simple. You develop the self by first being honest about yourself. We have all at some point mired ourselves in a plethora of lies. And that is the most nonsensical thing we have all done to ourselves, falsely elevating ourselves with inflated egos, convincing ourselves we are this, that and the other, when the reality is we are not. People don't like to hear this stuff, and it is why I get so much flack. I'm brutally honest, perhaps too honest, some say, which again comes back to the low self-worth, insecurity and the comparative competitive mindset, does it not? This is what is the lead cause of division and why the people will not come together. The clowns, cabal, factions do. So why are they different to us? In part, they're not. But they have the ability to seduce the dissenters onto their path by offering something we the people by and large can't. Whether it's material gain, titles or status gain, or sheer threats, that is how they achieve their unity. We don't have that ability, and so it becomes eminently a more difficult task to accomplish. But all it takes is the person to be honest to and with themselves. This is why we end up with circular arguments, like the recent call I had, which described the TPC model as flawed. He or she offered no reason as to why it was flawed, just a statement. But that person is no different to most other people. The gist is, I came up with a solution, and because it wasn't their choice, solution or thinking, that makes it flawed. Yet again, it is the low self-worth, insecurity and the competitive mindset thinking. Kim, before her own dance of personal failure, once said they attack us because we are doers. That was correct. The non-doers won't do things because they are terrified of making a mistake, which is another thing that plagues society. And this is why people sit on the fence of one group or another, one opinion or another, is because then they will always be right. But that is illusion again. As fence sitting is because you can't or won't make up your own choice in life, for fear of being wrong. Again, the fear of being wrong is down to low self-worth and insecurity, with a sprinkling of the competitive thrown in for good measure again. With that level of doubts, fears and insecurities and concerns of being wrong or making a mistake echoing through your vessel, how can you be the change? How can anything change with those emotions? The answer is, they can't. The concern of not making a mistake or wrong turn is the very reason why saviour programs work to distract the masses. Why? Because if the saviour fails, it's all down to them, not the individual, or so they think. Falling for a saviour program is the ultimate in failure of the self. And yes, it's all too enticing and seductive that someone or something will save you. It's all too easy to sit back and let the saviour do the work, is it not? Saviours are for the non-doers. They project that they are, but in reality world, they're not. The evidence is all around you. Things cannot change until the people themselves change. Protests are the external, look at me, I'm doing something for change. But change for the sake of change is no use, unless the very people who demand the change have changed themselves in a better way. America has just changed its government. Will it be better than the last? Has any government replacement ever been better? No. Unless you like to delude yourself. Millions of Democrats celebrating because they won. It's fake success. Because in reality, we all lost, no matter which party got in. And one example of several that has recently come up for me is my attempts to get the people together as a collective while still retaining their affiliations for their own groups. And one person suggested that we should change the name of the TPC, as then more people would join it because it's not directly connected to me. I get that line, I do, and it's not a reflection of the person suggesting it. But if the sole reasoning for bringing people together for the greater good is based solely on changing the name of the group, then those people are not ready to change anything. And it becomes another excuse to not be the change, and it is essentially a cop-out for the non-doers. I chose the People's Club for a reason. It is a club for and by the people. It's not my group or my club. It's our group and club. And if people are so shallow to not be connected to a group because I chose the name and not them, no wonder we the people are in a mess. But it's funny how people all think it's flawed, or I am this, that and the other, wrong about everything, and yet so many who have departed connections to our group repeat my words, ideas, ideologies and show material. Now, why is that? It all boils down to envy again, with the same subset of words that runs through this piece of low self-worth, insecurity and the comparative competitive mindset thinking. This is the crux of it all. I'm just the projection screen to spit at, spew hatred, venom and abuse against, all because I do and think of things in the right way. The Kims, Tanks, Chloe, Bubba Group, Madeline, Lily, Randy, Shane, Drake, Keenan, Alan and Liam's may all denigrate, hate and malign me, yet all have shown a deep admiration of what I do, say or know at some point. What changed? They did. And the circular argument is they can't all be wrong. There must be something wrong with that guy, and people are free to make their own choices on that. But perhaps the evidence of whether they were wrong about me is contained within themselves. Have any of those people gone on and flourished without me in their lives? Have they gone on to be model people, developed their own self or ideas for the benefit of the people? The answer is an emphatic no. Kim collected titles for her own self-importance and forgot about doing important things, including fixing herself. It's not essentially about having me in their lives, and more about how they develop themselves without the excuse of me being the problem. I was their scapegoat. If I wasn't, those people, with the exception of Liam, did not go on to greater heights within and of themselves. I wish they all had personally, despite the nastiness and venom they have thrown at me, but sadly for them, that has not been the case. There are elements within those names of them copying and pasting much of my work and ideas, which tells me I was on the right path. And it also reveals they have not developed enough within themselves to chart their own paths. How can you copy and paste all one man's ideas, knowledge and work, yet spew bile at him and not admire him? Because it comes back to the real virus on this planet of low self-worth, insecurity and a comparative and competitive mindset. That is the very core and root of our inability to come together as one, whether I'm central to it or not. it is repeated in all walks of life. Inherent racism and mistrust of people who live not within the same illusionary boundary zones called countries are also at the root of divisiveness within our communities. There are elements within Life Force and NLA who view me as an imposter because I was not born in the same country as them. The comparative and competitive mindset kicks in again, because how can a Brit know so much more about America than Americans? Because I put in far more research than most is why. And it is the same in other aspects of the alt media, particularly the New Age culture, all espousing the oneness of everything, and then stating in the next sentence, we don't want no immigrants in our country. That is racism. And it is displayed by every culture on this planet. And the reality is we are a racist planet. And people can deny it all they like, but the facts speak for themselves. Maybe that racism is inherent and is stored in our DNA. Think about that, because it's actually true. Latent memory stored within your DNA. Perhaps that is why they wish to change it and return us to the city of lights or sleeping pods again. This role I do is a very lonely role within and of itself. I leave myself open to all kinds of abuse from all levels of society. Why? Because I reflect back to people where they fall short is why. But these shows are not just for your benefit. They are for everyone's benefit, including my own. I never had some magic button for all this knowledge, abilities, wisdom, oversight given to me on a plate. I worked hard, I studied hard, and sacrificed whole heaps of my life in terms of time and my personal life. Years of dot connecting, years of compiling it all together, and years of pondering, documenting, processing, healing, and an endless stream of rejections, abuse from friends, loved ones, and family. People often ask me to write a book of my life. If I did, it would be upsetting and dispiriting for the reader. A story of rejection, targeting, abuse, and a trail of broken relationships based on my ability to push higher at all costs, help people at all costs, defend people at all costs. But the realization I came to over the past decade was I had to keep going with my role regardless of the personal abuse I suffered, as it was not my lesson to learn. I did gain some lessons myself in that journey, lots of them. You don't have the package I bring to the table without doing so. I made mistakes. I've been wrong at times. I've been right countless times, which is another aspect that infuriates some people and their perception of me. He's a bit of a smart or wise ass. which is a backhanded compliment in most cases, but why not a direct compliment instead? And again, it all comes down to, because of the comparative and competitive mindset we all carry around with us, like a month's worth of grocery shopping on our backs. But that is your perception and is not reflective of me. It is a reflection of you. And humanity's inability to get behind the good people doing the right things in a selfless way, because that then triggers their own virus of low self-worth, insecurity, and comparative and competitive mindset. How would I write my story? One of triumph over adversity. As despite what people have thrown at me, I managed to keep on driving forward within myself, and more importantly, for the betterment of humanity. That is what I have brought to the table. Few realise what I have gone through, experienced, suffered, and all the trials and tribulations to get where I am today. Too few know of the attacks to throw me off track that occur like a loop. But it's not a 4-year loop. The reality is it's a daily loop. The admins will back me up on that. The question is for those who want or wanted my position is, would you take all that on a daily basis, yet still retain your balance, essence and sanity? I don't do it for the glory. This is not a glorious role. I do it because it's the right thing to do, because too few others are willing to really take on this role. I do it to improve us all and develop a better future for us all. It was within me all along. I just struggled at times to adapt to the role, too content to fly under the radar, hide behind the scenes and let others take the limelight. But my break this week and other ponderings recently allowed me to come to the conclusion: I'm not important, but I do important things. I'm not the leader. I lead others to lead with me. I have developed in the right way on many levels, and too few have the knowledge and understanding of life and its machinations in the way I do. Too few are humble enough to carry out a real leader's role that is not about dictating to people and my way or the highway, but have the flexibility and self-mastery to listen to all and combine the best bits of all into a package of information and knowledge that will drag this species into an advanced, intelligent species. Drag humanity and all of its childlike thinking and antics onto a better adult-based thinking path that benefits us all. We cannot keep the virus going of low self-worth, insecurity, comparative and competitive mindsets that drags us all into the gutter. We have to be better than that. In a world of failed leaders, someone needs to step forward with a new plan of how to be, think, change and develop. I have done that with the help of many, and finally I am free of my own personal shackles and ready and willing to fully take on that role for and by the people. In the same humbling and considerate way I've always done. How do you achieve that? Perhaps the poem If springs to mind. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowances for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting or being lied about, don't deal in lies. Or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken and stoop and build them up with worn out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they're gone, and so hold on when there's nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much. If you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that is in it. And which is more, you'll be a man, my son. A fitting piece to ponder on for us all. That poem is speaking of gaining self-mastery. I wrote my own poem this week to complement that, and it is a reflection of people towards me or not. I hope you like it. To some, I am nothing. To others, I am everything. To some, I am a moron. To others, I am someone to draw on. To some who can't abide me, to others abide by me. To some, I am the target of hate. To others, I am thought of as great. To some, I am the negative reflection. To others, I am the circumspection. To some, I talk shite. To others, I talk light. To some, I am obtuse. To others, I am a ruse. To some, I am a bore. To others, I am Thor. To some, I am unfair. To others, I am the air. To some, I am vacuous and hollow. To others, I am Apollo. To some, I am a zero. To others, I am a hero. I'm not the hero in the singular. The hero was within you all along. I'm just the humble guy that tried to point it out to you all. And people may hate, reject, dismiss, or try to hurt me, but they can't ignore me as their subconscious will not allow them to. And thankfully I'm not the type to let this adulation or critique side of things throw me off track or my ego off balance. I will just keep on being me, because that is enough for me. I found myself, my hobby, role and direction, and that is the path for me. And welcome all to join with me on a path for a better future for us all. This has been the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show.